Growing out of the family nest. Initially, I was nervous about taking that trip, but it really helped me grow as a person. All my life, I have been a very serious and calm person, afraid of the unknown and of leaving my comfort zone, full of insecurities and doubts about the future. My parents have always given me everything, and in certain way, that causing me a feeling of comfort in my home, but as I mentioned before, a fear of the uncertain, a fear of facing the reality of the outside world. It was my third semester of high school. I was like a normal day, taking class, laughing with my friends, and having crazy ideas about life. After lunch break, I went to class with my best friends. The director was already in the classroom, and when we saw her, all my classmates, including my group of friends, began to murmur, "Why is she here? Did we do something wrong?" We were all really expecting the worst, because except for my friends, who are a normally quiet group, the other students were quite disastrous. We all sat silently at our desks and waited for the scolding. To our surprise, the principal gave us news that we did not expect at all. Due to the requirements of some subjects and requests from some teachers, you were granted permission to organize a trip to Cabin Los Encinos. After hearing the news, we were all very happy and excited, each one talking with their group of friends respectively. I particularly felt a sense of excitement, but at the same time nervous, because of the response of my parents when sharing the news. They have always been very protective with me, and something inside me told me that they would not give me permission to attend the trip. Suddenly, the conversation of my friends about the expectation of the trip took me out of my thoughts, and I began to pay attention to them. "We must all stay together in a cabin. I heard that if we made a list in advance, we could choose our companions." In less than a rooster crows, one of my friends was already with the list and going to the director to let her know that we want to stay together in a cabin. The trip would be in 3 days, and I had to quickly tell my parents about the trip, to be able to pay what was necessary, and most importantly, that they gave me permission. I have never been a deceitful, irresponsible, or ill-educated daughter, so in certain way, I believe that I had the upper hand when it came to asking for permission. And to my surprise, it was. My parents agreed to let me travel alone. "Well, daughter, you are old enough to do it. You are a good person and you are supported by the school, so we give you permission. But you have to promise that you will call us every day." I was super happy for their words, and I told them, "I will do you ask me to go on that trip. Thank you very much, parents." The 2 days before the trip, I just spent in organizing what was necessary for the trip and talking with my friends what we would do on the trip. The day of the trip arrived. We went out on the road on a Friday morning. Before getting on the truck, my parents hugged me as if they never want to let me go, but they knew it was the right thing to do and what was necessary to begin to mature in a certain way. I said goodbye to my parents and got into the truck to sit with my friends. I saw the nervous face of my parents through the window, but I could also see the trust they placed in me, and I didn't want to disappoint them. After a 5-hour trip, we arrived at the Los Encinos cabins. The weather of the season was cold, and although it is not one of my favorite climates, I was happy to be there. The staff of the place received us with a delicious lunch. At the end of the lunch, they took us to a conference to explain the rules and experience that we were going to have, and at the end of the day, each group of friends went to their cabin respectively. Our cabin was the furthest from the meeting point, but quite spacious and cozy. Inside it there was a bathroom and a small kitchen and a bed for each of us. The cabin was 2 floors. Some beds were on the second floor and others on the first. As expected, we all wanted to stay up, but we solved it as only we knew, with a rock, paper, and scissors. While they saw that, I was recording a vlog for my mom to show her what the cabin was like. My friends grabbed my cell phone and I just laughed at them. Before going to sleep, we decided to make some popcorn and tell some stories in the upstairs rooms. But in that, while we made the popcorn, it was heard that they touched the window of the room. We were all scared because it was already late and we didn't have the slightest idea who it might be. One of my friends exclaimed, "What if it is a bear?" We all laughed when we heard it, and suddenly there was a loud knock on the door. We all screamed, and one of the bravest of the group dared to open the door. When we opened it, we realized that he was just a teacher making a joke. He told us the itinerary we had for the next day, and he left. When we had our popcorn ready, we all went upstairs excited about the talk. But when we went up, we found an unknown bug and a few spiders. One of my friends sprayed insecticide all over the room, and without realizing it, she also had the popcorn. All scared by the bugs and sad because we no longer dined out popcorn, we went down to the first floor, and when we realized what we had just done, we just laughed. We stayed talking and fell asleep. We were 3 days in the cabins. Those were days when I learned about nature, about the responsibility of preparing everything on my own, and thus getting along with people with whom I hardly spoke. One Tuesday morning, we were going back to school. When my parents arrived, they asked me how I had fared, if I had fulfilled my responsibilities correctly, if I had organized my luggage well, among other things. After a long talk that day with my parents, at night alone in my room, I began to reflect on what had happened on the trip. We had certain problems in the cabin, very minor problems, but problems after all. But at the end of the day, together with my friends, we were able to solve that. I managed to be an organizing person on my own, responsible for my schedules, and at that moment, I realized that to continue my day to day, I can do it on my own. It's okay for my parents to guide me, to worry about me, but after all, I can develop as an independent person, start growing outside the family nest, and no longer fear my future reality.